name is Dr. Vivek Murthy. I served as the 19th Surgeon General of the United States, and I'm the author of Together, The Healing Power of Human Connection in a Sometimes Lonely World. Thank you for that question about people who don't have symptoms. And what we know now is that a surprising number of people with coronavirus don't have any symptoms at all. And they can possibly pass the virus on to others in this asymptomatic state. The way this happens is that respiratory droplets, so fluid that comes from our lungs and the other parts of our respiratory system, can be expelled even when we talk. And if that fluid gets in our hands, if we touch somebody else, they are at risk of getting infected. If we also touch other surfaces, like countertops or our phones, and then somebody else touches that, they can pick up the virus from that as well. That's why it's really important that we recognize that as we learn more about the coronavirus, it's not just people who have symptoms, who are coughing, who have fevers, who are sick, but many people who don't have any symptoms can transmit the virus. That's why we all have to take caution to make sure that we're protecting ourselves and each other from the spread of the virus. We don't yet know if people who get the virus are fully protected from ever getting it again. What we know is when we look at other viruses that people can get the cold again, they can get the flu again from season to season. And with all immunity that we develop to viruses, they can last for a short period of time or for a long period of time. So time will tell. And as we study this virus more, we'll hopefully get a better understanding of how protected you are from getting the virus a second time around. But because there's so much uncertainty around this, it's important that we all take precautions, whether we've had the virus or not, to protect ourselves by washing our hands and by ensuring that if we're going to go out, that we're careful about not touching our face, and that if we're sick, we certainly stay home to protect other people from getting ill. The amount of time it takes to recover from the coronavirus differs widely. Some people will get the virus and have no symptoms at all. Other people will have mild symptoms, like a low-grade fever or a mild cough, and others will get really ill and will need to be hospitalized. What we know is that a large percentage of people who get the virus, something close to 15 to 20%, will end up in the hospital. And there, it can take weeks for them to recover. So this virus can be quite severe in people. It seems that people who are older and have other chronic medical conditions like diabetes and heart disease may be at greater risk for more severe infection. Right now, we're in the middle of the first wave of the coronavirus infection. But it is possible there may be second waves and third waves. Like with other viruses like the cold or with the flu, we know that every year we deal with waves of this. And so we have to be prepared that COVID-19, this new coronavirus, could come back again. That's why it's especially important that we do everything possible now to make sure we're prepared for the future. That means working hard to develop vaccines and medications that could treat this virus, making sure that our hospital systems and doctors' offices are well equipped to both test for the virus and treat and support people when they get sick. This is a really hard time for a lot of people who are separated from their family and their friends, who can't see work colleagues or classmates in school because we're all physically distancing from one another. And one of the things I worry about in particular is that this can be a lonely time for people. We know that many people in our country and around the world struggle with loneliness on a regular basis, and times like this can make that worse. But I think if we approach this moment in the right way, if we're intentional about focusing on our relationships, we may in fact be able to use this time to strengthen our connections with other people. And there are a few simple things that can help. Spending 15 minutes a day, reaching out to someone you love, video conferencing with them, calling them on the phone, or writing to them can be a powerful way to build connection into your daily life. And making sure the time you have with people is high quality, so that you're not distracted by your phone or by other technology, is also really important to making sure that you're getting the most out of the time you have with others. Finally, helping other people is a powerful way to connect with them. So think about your neighbors and other people in your life who may be struggling. Reach out and check on them, see how they're doing. That's a powerful way to help bridge the isolation that many of us are undergoing right now. I'm a big basketball fan. I've been watching basketball ever since I was a young boy. I grew up in Miami, Florida, and the Miami Heat were my favorite team growing up. In fact, the franchise started when I was here in high school, I believe. My favorite player growing up at that time on the Miami Heat was Ronnie Cycli. But in years since, Dwayne Wade, also an icon for the Miami Heat, has become my favorite player. So it was sad to see him retire last year, but I hope that he's doing well in his post-NBA life. I'm optimistic that we're going to come out of this coronavirus situation and ultimately be stronger for it. I know this is a really tough time right now, and it's actually going to get tougher as we see more people get sick, and unfortunately, as we lose more people to this terrible virus. So there are tough days ahead, but what makes me optimistic is that we've got the world's best scientists working on helping to develop treatments and a vaccine. Second, we are now mobilizing government resources across the board to help address the coronavirus. While we got off to a slow start, we're ramping up testing, we're increasing our hospital capacity. We're doing the things that we need to do bit by bit to make sure that we can address this virus now, but also in the future. But what makes me most optimistic is the people in our communities. You know, we are a resilient country, we're a resilient planet. People everywhere are stepping up now to help each other, to support each other. They're helping healthcare workers who are on the front lines by delivering food to their doors. They're taking steps like staying indoors and staying at home to make sure that they protect others from getting the virus, even though staying indoors is hard. So I'm optimistic about the future because I have great faith in the resilience of people, and I have great faith in our science. So I think it's tough days ahead, but I'm optimistic that we're going to get through this. When it comes to masks and gloves, our top priority is to make sure we're saving them for healthcare workers, for doctors, for nurses, for respiratory therapists, and other people who are working in the hospital. And here's why. Because people who are working in the hospital right now, they're encountering a lot of people who have coronavirus infection, and we need to protect our healthcare workers. They're most at risk at this moment. And if we don't protect them, then not only can they not do their job, but they'll get sick, they'll drop out of the workforce right when we need them. And it's also just not right that the people who are putting themselves on the line don't have the protection that they need. So right now, we've got to prioritize all medical masks and gloves for our healthcare workers. With that said, we know that many people who have this virus are asymptomatic and they can spread the virus to others. So I think it's a good idea to cover your mouth and your nose when you go out. And you can do that using just a cotton mask that you make at home from any cotton fabric that you have. I suspect that we'll be getting more guidance from the CDC about this in the coming days. But I think it's important for us to remember that the most important thing you can do right now to help protect yourself and others is to wash your hands. So avoid touching your face when you go out, to keep distance of 6 feet or more from other people if you have to interact with folks outside of your home, and to absolutely stay away from group gatherings or crowds, because this is a time where we have got to reduce the peak of infections in the country. And the best way to do that is to stay at home and reduce our physical interaction with others. I want to thank everybody who joined this call today. COVID-19 is a really important issue for us to address. And as hard as it is right now, I know that if we stick together, if we keep working at solutions, that we will get through this moment and come out stronger together.